Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be watching from this weird, wacky, wonderful, chaotic world of ours. Hello, Albertans. Welcome to the Alberta Referendum. This is episode number 7, where again, I want to help educate, communicate, have discussions, conversations with fellow Albertans about the potential of a referendum and the potential of Alberta independence. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. You are amazing. When I go and read the comments, sometimes I'm like, oh, are they going to be trolls today? And on the last video, at the time of this recording, I'm recording this on Wednesday afternoon in central Alberta. And are you tired of the snow yet? I know I am. I can't believe it. Just when you think the snow has melted and you've done the shoveling and all the snow is off your vehicles and you can start seeing your sidewalk properly again, boom, another dump of snow. Man, we are getting hammered over the last 24 hours here around the Edmonton area. Just when you think it's the last dump, the next one comes. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, like I was saying, I enjoy reading the comments. A lot of you are regulars, if you can consider, 7 episodes a regular. But good to see you. Hope you have enjoyed the last few episodes. And if you haven't caught the first few episodes, especially the first one is kind of where I set the groundwork for what I want to do with this channel. It's only about 15 minutes. Go check it out and then come back and watch this one. Let's get to our viewer mail. I do really try to make an effort of keeping this under 40 minutes. Ideally, I would want to be under 30 minutes. And in a perfect YouTube world, I'd want to be about 15 or 20 minutes. And I aspire to get to that point. Might take a couple more videos, but I think I can get to that 15 or 20 minute mark. You guys are just so fun to talk to. I'm a big talker, and I enjoyed my maple buds. I mentioned on the last episode, someone put in the comments that they had maple buds that came in kind of a little, I don't know, plasticky kind of, it wasn't in a cardboard box, at least not the ones I remember. And on a hot day, they would melt pretty quickly. They were shaped like these buds that you see in the picture there, kind of a nice chocolate round tree. I don't know if round tree is still around anymore. But yes, the old maple buds. There's your chocolate bar comment of the stream. Let's get to our viewer mail. That's what they say on the talk show hosts. At least back in my day, they would say viewer mail. Now it's just like email. It's instant. Johnny Alberta says, I won't comment on everything, but with respect to the second point from the last video, it's important to consider net transfer payments. Each year, the outflows from Alberta to Canada exceed inflows from Canada to Alberta by about 15 to 30 million. After replacing federal transfer payments, Alberta would have multiple billions to spare. I might have said million earlier. I meant billion. That's a lot of zeros. You're right, Johnny. We put out more than we take in. Those that are against independence, again, have used the argument, like I mentioned in the last video, that Canada has given us resources, so we're just paying rent basically on those resources that we have been given. I think that's the point that they have made. Last video was the 5 reasons why we should not seek independence. Again, on this channel, at least to start, believe me, we're going to be leaning very heavily in one direction very soon on these videos. But at least to start, I want to give both sides their say in this conversation. I don't want anyone to feel left out on this issue. It is an extremely important issue. And today's video, we're going to get through the second 5 points because I kind of had a top 10 reasons that we should not seek independence. So thank you, Johnny, for that comment. Don't Poke the Bear has left a few comments as well. One of them was, Canada will not negotiate in good faith. So Alberta will need to get recognition from another country like the US to declare independence. Yeah, I've read that as well, that if other countries recognize us as an independent state, then legally, I guess, I mean, really, what is true legally? Everything seems to go through courts, and then we have, I want to appeal this, and then I want to appeal that, and eventually it would likely go up to the Supreme Court of Canada, or I don't know, United Nations International Court. I don't know who would have the final say on this, but it is something that is a possibility down the line. If the votes go for yes for independence, it's not going to be easy. I think the US would recognize us, at least with the current government. Seems to be that they would recognize us as an independent state. Long way to go in this journey. Lori Pollock, thank you for the comment. Lori says, people are rude when commenting because they hide behind a computer screen. I think the kids these days call them keyboard warriors. Very easy to say something. Again, putting a channel like this together, putting the time in to get the slides and the information out there. I'm not a monetized channel, at least not as of yet. On YouTube, you have to reach a certain set of criteria before you can even potentially become monetized. I'm doing this because this is the most important political decision I've ever had to make in my life. And I want to make sure Albertans hear from both sides to start with, give their opinions, contemplate potential risks and rewards for independence. And I believe I want to be one of those people in the community that can share some information. There are some really good social media sites out there. Of course, the Alberta Prosperity Project. We have Stay Free Alberta. A lot of good information out there. I just want to do my little bit of part, including some chocolate references. Next up, Chuck. Chuck says, here are your answers. If we stay, carbon taxes will increase. Net zero laws will tighten. Equalization payments will increase. More red tape from Ottawa, and your free speech will be restricted even more. I have to say, Chuck, that's my opinion as well. Based on, again, I'm just going based on what we've seen since pretty much 2015. Restrictions, emergency acts, tighter laws, bills being passed, restricting what we can say. We have evidence now in Quebec of, RCMP officials knocking on doors about social media posts. And if it's happening in one province, the plan is for it to happen in every province. So thank you, Chuck, for the comment. Kurt says, FYI, I love this show that you're doing, but it's not freaking rights. Let's go. The reason I'm correcting you is because when we say let's go, it's using Mitch Sylvester's words on the front step of the legislature. Check out the video and you'll understand. So just to clarify, the rally call for Alberta independence is let's go. Kurt says, I prefer to add an F-bomb in the middle to spice it up and have more fun. Kurt, my mom's watching. I can't just drop F-bombs. Besides, I mentioned in the first episode, I was a school teacher, high school teacher for over 30 years in Alberta. And I've just programmed myself not to drop the F-bombs. Although, I'm sure some teachers have used them in class. I never did. I never did in front of the kids. That's restraint over 30 years, not dropping one of those. So thank you, Kurt. For now, it's going to be friggin' rights. Let's go. Next up. Thank you guys for watching. You got to have a little bit of humor in all the chaos of the world, don't you? It's a messy world right now. And I do kind of want to focus on the Alberta politics and the Alberta economy and the Alberta social situations, but so much is going on in the world. KJ Kennedy. Alberta has never had democracy or a voice or rights or provincial sovereignty or anything government. And this so called constitution keeps Alberta and Albertans slaves to Ottawa. The globalists who put everything but the West first and tell us to shut up and pay. KJ, you are expressing the feelings of so many people in Alberta, so many that are pushing for this referendum and pushing for Alberta independence. You're not alone in this by far. If we put everyone into a room that thought the way you thought in this comment, we need a really big room. We need a few football stadiums, I think. I think Commonwealth would easily fill up as well. So thank you, KJ Kennedy, for the comment. Dude with another comment here. Going deep in debt is far better than losing your rights and freedoms. We talked about if Alberta became independent, there would be a huge debt issue. There's a lot of upfront costs for getting a police service, getting pensions, paying for all these different programs that we would not have with federal government money anymore. But dude says it's worth going in debt. In my honest opinion, dude says it's a no-brainer, no matter the cost, as once rights and freedoms are lost, they never come back, and debt can always be repaid. Again, well said. There are a lot of people out there already in financial problems. They have financial problems. They are deep in debt personally. Personal debt continues to go up. Credit cards are maxed. Line of credit is maxed. A lot of people, I don't know the exact percentage, are living paycheck to paycheck and continue to go deeper in debt on their credit cards and things like that, getting loans from the bank. Businesses, family-run businesses, a lot of them are struggling. So we're seeing debt already going our own way. Alberta Independence. Yeah, we're going to have debt, but we already do. And we've seen before that debt in our province can be paid off. It is a risk, it is a gamble, but look at the alternatives. Look what seems to be coming our way politically, economically, socially from the central government. Thank you so much, dude. Couple more. Dwayne, a long-time follower. Since episode 1, Dwayne and the beer steins have been in the comments. This independence movement has to happen. This path we've been on doesn't work and hasn't been backed by accountability. Alberta being the third highest amount of oil reserves, we could last a lot longer than be ripped off for another few more decades. Awesome information, Glenn. Keep up the great work, bud. Cheers to you, Dwayne. And finally, let's go Alberta Freedom from Pentax Life. I did not get my usual co-host comment. Soft Whisper did not comment on the last video. Maybe been busy in life. Thank you guys for your comments. They mean so much. Positivity keeps me going. And we'll keep on, as someone mentioned in the comments too, we got this. Today, I want to focus on point number 6 to 10. Why we should at least think about staying as part of a federal system here. Why federalism is more important than Alberta's sovereignty. So I do want to go through points 6 to 10. Please, in the comments, as you did with the first set of points, why are these wrong? What would you say if someone came up to you and told you some of the things I'm going to go through? How would you counter that? What's your counter argument? Like I said, I want to give both sides a voice, a seat at the table. those people that are on the fence, I want to give them some information on both sides. When this vote happens, everyone, all Albertans that are eligible to vote should be out there. Never do you get 100% of votes, unless, you get information from dictatorships where 100% of the people voted and our leader got 99.8%, which I think they do on purpose. Psychologically, if they came out and said 100% supported the winner, people go, nothing's 100%. You can't get 100%. That's impossible. So they always knock it down just a little bit to psychologically make people believe that it's what happened. So 99.8% support. Everyone should vote. Everyone. If you're sitting back and say, I'm not going to vote in this referendum, or if you're sitting back and going, I don't care, you should care. Please, if you're listening to this and you don't care about a possible referendum in Alberta, you may never get the chance again. Never. My opinion is once this one passes by, if it's not a yes vote and preferably an overwhelming yes vote, we may never see another one. And even if we did see another referendum, with the way immigration's going, with all the new immigrants coming into our province, into our country, a lot of the immigrants tend to kind of favor the Liberal side. May take a few generations for them to see the reality of what's happening to Alberta. This is our chance. Please, when that referendum takes place in October, whichever side you may be on, go exercise your democratic right to put your input in. Point number 6, Alberta is landlocked and depends on infrastructure outside its borders. Now, whenever I'm reading points against independence, this is a common response I see. Well, Alberta is landlocked. Whereas, Norway and other countries similar to Alberta, they've got water nearby, makes trade easier, shipping easier. They don't need permission, where Alberta would need permission if they want to ship things across Canada or into the United States. So exporting energy requires pipelines and ports. We've seen problems with BC. We've seen problems with Quebec in terms of pipelines. Again, we would need acceptance support from British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, United States. And depending on the government in place, if BC had a more favorable government, we may have pipelines. We may have access to the Pacific Ocean. United States, look what happened when the Democrats were in power, shutting down pipelines. So it really depends on the dance partner and the political party that you're dancing with. Trans Mountain Pipeline Expansion Project connects Alberta oil to the Pacific Coast. And again, high costs, exceeding costs, 30 billion, red tape, a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy. So that is one of the big counter arguments for Alberta independence, is that we are landlocked. Based on what I know, at least with the current United States government, they would not have a problem with us building pipelines down there, shipping things to, and potentially through Washington State to the Pacific Ocean. Next, Alberta relies heavily on workers from other provinces, is what someone may say. Therefore, we should not vote for independence. The provincial economy benefits from labor mobility across Canada. During oil booms, tens of thousands of workers from other provinces moved to Alberta. In some years, over 100,000 Canadians moved to Alberta from other provinces. And interprovincial migration is one of the largest sources of population growth in Alberta. Those are the examples they will give. We know excessive immigration is an issue. In the grade 9 social studies curriculum, there is an immigration unit. And when I taught a few years ago, there was a different system. There was a point system. Government's kind of capped our immigrants to Canada at about 250,000 per year. And a majority of those immigrants were economic immigrants. They had to meet certain criteria. Again, they had to pass a points test where they had to answer questions, and based on their answers, they would get a certain amount of points, and they would need 67 out of 100 points to even be considered coming into Canada. That's gone. We do have temporary workers, but we also have a lot of student visas, and we have a lot of student visas that are expiring. Hundreds of thousands. You think it's going to be easy for those people to be taken and forced out of the country? You think the federal government's going to put a lot of time and money into deporting those people who have visas that have expired? So immigration in the past, I have no issue with immigration. We do need immigrants into Canada. We need people for certain occupations. Has to be done legally, has to be enforced, and I really think it has to have a lot of input from the provinces. Why is it Quebec gets to set terms for the immigrants coming into Quebec? Well, they would say it's because they're a distinct society. We speak French, so therefore we want a certain type of immigrant into Quebec. Yet other provinces don't have that ability. Other provinces cannot dictate some simple terms for the immigrants coming in. So this talking point against independence, there are a lot of issues. There are a lot of things that go wrong, and we see it happening in Canada right now. An independent Alberta, I believe, would fix, would put in writing, would enforce a lot of immigration terms. Alberta lifts restrictions on hiring temporary workers. Again, there are times where there are shortages of labor. Canada has the resources. Canada has the capital, kind of. But a lot of times labor is shortage. So we do need to bring in workers. We do need to bring in economic immigrants. Should they be favored? Absolutely not. How about those students looking for a summer job? I remember every summer there would be jobs available for students. You might not have been your first choice for a job, but there were always jobs available. And now with big companies like Tim Hortons, A&W, a lot of fast food, hospitality industries that are kind of skirting the students and going to the temporary workers. Let's go on to the next point. Number 8. Alberta always enjoys significant autonomy within Canada. Do we? Well, against independence, that's an argument that is often made that provinces already. Why do you want to become independent? You already control healthcare, education, natural resources, municipalities. You already collect your own provincial taxes and royalties. You already have resource ownership that has been entrenched in 1982. You're just being greedy. You Albertans are being greedy. You want more. Isn't that how we grow? Isn't that how we take care of ourselves? If we can have complete control over our life, over our province, over our nation state, should we be limited to what we control? When your child grows up, you control them. As they grow older, you give them more privileges, you give them more rights, you give them more responsibilities. But usually, while they're at home, you still have some power over them. But eventually, usually, although sometimes they come back, eventually they leave. They become sovereign, they become independent. And yes, once in a while, they'll come back to mom and dad because they need something. And there you are to help them out. We help out our kids, but we give them sovereignty. I'm not so sure if Alberta left Canada. I'm not so sure our parent Canada would help us out if we needed something. So if we go out on our own, I think we're pretty much on our own unless we get a little bit of connection with other provinces. Yes, we do control a lot of things, but we don't control banking. We don't control foreign affairs. We don't control law, the criminal code. We don't control defense, interprovincial trade. Often we don't control, although that has gotten better. We don't completely control immigration, agriculture, water. Can't we go out on our own? Can't we leave the house? We've proven we can take care of ourselves. We know we can put the grown-up pants on. Number 9, many Albertan industries depend on federal programs and institutions. And these federal institutions support economic stability. EI, Canadian Pension Plans, CPP, gives a lot of support for those that may be on without a job or old age or retired. The Bank of Canada stabilizes inflation. Plus, we get the defense, we get the federal infrastructure spending. A lot of times, highways and projects will be partially funded by the federal government. Again, those that are against independence will use this as a talking point that we're given funding for a lot of different things that if we do become independent, we may lose that. Well, we've already tried to take steps about the pension plan. We've already tried to take steps about a police force. The groundwork is being laid. We're not going into this with eyes closed. We've already seen the road ahead, potentially what it will be, and taken steps to dig up the dirt and get things going. All these issues here, I think the Canadian government supporting these things, I think the Alberta government over time can take these things over. It's not like we're going from 0 to 100. We already, as previously mentioned, we already take care of a lot of things. I think we can take care of a few more things. Instead of Canada Post, we've got Alberta Post. Banking systems, all those things, I don't think would be an issue. I think you'd have a lot of privatized banks that would come into play. Maybe we do need a central bank for Alberta, at least to start with. And number 10, public support is relatively low. Is it? Polls show that most Albertans do not support leaving Canada. A lot of polls put them at 20 to 30%. And a lot of Albertans, when interviewed, said they prefer to remain within Canada. Even during periods of high political tension, support seems to kind of stay at that 1/3. Maybe a few months ago, maybe last year. I think over the course of the last 3, 4 months, if it was at 20 to 30%, it just continues to go up as Alberta suffers more economically, as we are forced to accept these bills that are passed, as our speech is tightened, that support continues to go up. If we have until October when a referendum is held, that still gives a lot of time for that support to go up. I don't trust polls. Polls are created by obviously institutes that may have funding, may have ulterior motives. Alberta, Saskatchewan, this poll here from a few months ago, 52% of Albertans in this poll would definitely vote to stay. 49% of Saskatchewan residents would vote to stay. Not many that aren't sure. People seem to be pretty confident one way or the other, even if it's just leaning in one direction. So leaning towards voting to leave or definitely would leave. In Alberta, this poll says it's about 36%. I don't think it's going down between now and October. If anything, those percentages are still going to go up. So if we're at 36% now, and you add the 4% that aren't sure, that's 40%. And this was a few months ago. Not hard to get to that 50. Another poll, do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province of Canada? 69% in this poll said no. Only 18% said yes. I don't know who they're asking, but if they randomly ask 1,000 people, they're probably going into certain sectors, into the big cities, into a certain age group. There is no way it's at 18%. If you polled every Albertan, it's not at 18%. And one more, if a referendum was held today on Alberta separation, would you vote for Alberta to leave Canada and become its own independent country? 8% would definitely vote to leave, 21% leaning to leave. So that's 29%. So 3 different polls, 3 different outcomes. We had a 29%, we had a 39%, and we had a, what was that last one? 18%. You can't put faith into polls. We've seen them be wrong so many times, even in elections. Oh, this party's going to have a landslide. Nope. This party's going to win in a squeaker. Nope. Oh, they're definitely going to win. Oh, and then they just say, oh, what an upset. Well, prepare for an upset, Alberta. Funny, we don't see a lot of polls by the reputable polling companies. We don't see a lot of polls in favor of separation. So a summary of arguments over the last 2 episodes. Again, I'm not going to read through all these word for word. If you watched episode number 6 and you're watching this episode now, these are the top kind of 10 talking points, or at least 10 talking points that those against independence would put out there into the universe, including landlocked, including labor issues, including infrastructure. Leave your comments. Some of the things we went through today. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? I'd love to hear your opinion, even if it's just, let's go, Alberta. Next episode, I want to broach something that I'm kind of struggling with. that I'm wondering about. And you can leave comments about this too, and we can post some of the comments next episode. But Danielle Smith, is she the right choice to lead a potential independent Alberta? I want to talk about that. Danielle Smith has done some wonderful things in this province. Danielle Smith has done a lot of things that absolutely look favorable to those that want independence. Danielle Smith has also said and done a few things that make me question, including outright saying Alberta should remain part of Canada. We'll talk about it. We'll go through some of the talking points. You guys are the best. Hope you join me next episode. Don't forget, signatures are still being collected. Every signature counts. The more signatures, the more difficult it is going to be for those that are opposed to Alberta independence to speak up. 177,000 are needed. Go check out the Alberta stayfreealberta.com question that will be on the referendum. Do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be part of Canada to become an independent state? If you're going to be in Edmonton on March the 28th, that's on Saturday, please go check out the guest speaker at 7 p.m. That's going to be at the Carnarvon Community Hall. You see the correct spelling there. Morinville on Sunday the 29th, guest speaker at 7 p.m. That's going to be held at the Community Cultural Center in Morinville. And if you're in Whitecourt or near Whitecourt, Tuesday, March the 31st at the Westward Community Hall. Again, petition signing, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., guest speaker at 7 p.m. Over 200 sites that you can access across Alberta if you want to sign the petition. I'll show a few more as we head off. My name is Glenn. I am a proud Canadian and an even prouder Albertan. Breaking rights, let's go. We'll see you next episode.
Time to plan a new life, let the truth flow. You stole our voice, many souls you tried to take. But we forged ahead, we will not break. We were called liars, guess what, we're still here, supporting each other, stop shedding a tear. More coming forward, time to shine, we paid our dues, now tired of all your wine. You called us fools, took away our rights. Around the world we are ready to unite. Grew up with lunches full of cheese whiz. Enjoyed our pop rocks and candy with fizz. Fed propaganda but never believed in all those lies you would try and weave. You underestimated all us Gen Xers. Took us for fools, called us home wreckers. We were called liars, guess what, we're still here, supporting each other, stop shedding a tear. More coming forward, time to shine, we paid our dues, now tired of all your wine. You called us fools, took away our rights. Around the world we are ready to unite.